Every year, nearly 90,000 people in the United States receive a diagnosis that will forever change their lives: Parkinson's disease. Worldwide, more than 10 million people are battling this relentless enemy, a neurological assassin that strips away movement, speech, and ultimately, independence. For decades, science has thrown almost everything at this disease, yet the result has remained chillingly constant: treatments that only mask symptoms, while the disease continues its slow, merciless march. But today, the landscape may be on the brink of a seismic shift. Imagine a pill working not by hiding the symptoms, but by striking at the very root of the disease itself, a radical new strategy that could, for the first time, slow or even halt the progression of Parkinson's. It's not a movie plot, it's BHV 8000, an experimental therapy that has the global medical and biotech communities buzzing with a single burning question: can we actually outsmart and stop Parkinson's disease? If the answer is yes, the implications are staggering, not just for the millions living with Parkinson's, but for the future of treating neurodegenerative diseases everywhere. If the answer is no, the disappointment will echo far beyond the walls of research labs. The stakes could not be higher. Why is this drug making headlines? And what are the hidden risks that could turn hope into heartbreak? To understand why this development feels so urgent, we have to step back and take stock of what Parkinson's disease really is. While most of us know it as a condition that shakes the body, Parkinson's is actually a systemic assault on the nervous system. It begins quietly, perhaps a slight tremor in a hand, or a subtle slowness of movement. But beneath those early signs, chaos is erupting in the brain. The disease attacks dopamine-producing neurons in an area called the substantia nigra. Dopamine is critical for controlling movement. As more neurons die, patients lose not just their physical coordination, but also their cognitive abilities, communication skills, even the capacity to perform basic tasks like eating or dressing. The cause? It's complex: a tangled web of genetic predispositions, environmental toxins, and, most recently recognized, deep immune system dysfunction. The brain's own immune cells, known as microglia, sometimes turn against healthy neurons, launching an inflammatory onslaught that accelerates their destruction. As the world's population ages, the stakes continue to rise dramatically. According to projections, the global number of Parkinson's patients is expected to double by 2050. The current market for Parkinson's treatments is already enormous, approaching $5.6 billion annually, and yet, not a single therapy can change the disease's course. The best doctors can offer are drugs like levodopa, which only replenish missing dopamine and temporarily relieve symptoms. It's a bit like putting a fresh coat of paint on a crumbling building. The cracks underneath just keep getting wider. That's why the search for a disease-modifying therapy, a treatment that can actually slow or halt the progression, has become the holy grail for patients, families, and researchers. Big foundations like the Michael J. Fox Foundation have poured millions into finding that breakthrough, supporting every avenue from gene therapy to stem cell research. And yet, time and again, promising candidates have failed. Some were rejected because of ineffective results. Others triggered unacceptable side effects. Every setback has only fueled the urgency. Now, thanks to a deeper understanding of the immune system's role in Parkinson's, a new possibility is on the horizon. Recent studies have revealed that immune dysregulation and chronic inflammation are not just present in Parkinson's, they may be key drivers of the disease itself. This has set off a frenzy among biotech companies to find a way to calm the brain's inflammatory storm. Enter Biohaven Ltd., a clinical-stage biopharmaceutical giant headquartered in New Haven, Connecticut. Their latest candidate, BHV 8000, is not just another symptom-masking drug. It's designed as a first-in-class, highly selective inhibitor of two critical kinases, TYK2 and JK1. These enzymes are molecular switches that control immune signaling in the body, and they've been strongly implicated in driving neuroinflammation, the very process that accelerates neuron death in Parkinson's disease. Unlike previous attempts at immune modulation, BHV 8000 is engineered to cross the blood-brain barrier, targeting both the central nervous system and the immune system in the rest of the body. That's a major technical leap. BHV 8000 has broad potential for treating neuroinflammatory and neurodegenerative diseases, says Dr. Peter Ackerman, Biohaven's Senior Vice President of Clinical Development. He points to the urgent gap. No available disease-modifying therapy exists, and the current treatments are just not enough. The logic is as bold as it is simple. By dialing down the runaway immune response, can we actually protect brain cells from destruction and change the trajectory of Parkinson's disease? Early lab and animal studies seem to validate the approach. In preclinical experiments, inhibiting TYK2 and JK1 reduced the activation of inflammatory T cells and microglia, the very immune cells that, when left unchecked, can devastate neurons. Encouraged by these results, Biohaven moved BHV 8000 into human trials. Phase 1 results were surprisingly positive. The drug appeared to be safe and well tolerated. Importantly, it caused significant reductions in key inflammation biomarkers, like IP10 and IFN-gamma, while demonstrating robust brain penetration. That means it's not just floating around in the bloodstream, it's actually getting where it needs to go, inside the brain. Stuart Isaacson, MD, a leading movement disorders specialist, is optimistic but realistic. Brain-penetrant TYK2 JAK1 inhibitors can leverage validated immune targets to treat brain disorders. He adds that high selectivity is crucial, as it may reduce the risk of severe toxicities associated with JAK2 and/or JAK3 inhibition. With confidence from early data and the blessing of regulatory agencies, Biohaven has now kicked off one of the most ambitious trials in recent memory. The Phase 2-3 study, registered as NCT06976268, is a global, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled test of BHV 8000 in early-stage Parkinson's patients. The design is innovative. The main measure is time to event, specifically how long it takes for patients to experience a significant worsening in their ability to perform daily activities, as recorded on the MDS-UPDRS Part 2 scale. This focus on real-world function, rather than just motor symptoms, is expected to better capture the disease's true impact. In addition, the study is pioneering the use of PARCOMS, new composite scales that aim to spot even subtle changes in patients' functioning. By enrolling 550 patients across 185 sites in 13 countries, including the US, Canada, and Europe, Biohaven is betting big that the data will be robust enough to satisfy global regulators. The FDA has already signaled its support, accepting the study's novel endpoints as valid for potential approval. And the market potential? It's huge. Analysts at Global Data predict that if BHV 8000 or another disease modifier succeeds, we could see a global market worth billions, as demand for an effective therapy will skyrocket amid an aging population. The competitive stakes are fierce. Success would not only transform Biohaven itself, but also validate neuroinflammation as a crucial target in other neurodegenerative diseases, from Alzheimer's to multiple sclerosis. But the optimism is strongly balanced by caution, and for good reason. The path to a disease-modifying Parkinson's treatment is littered with failed trials and shattered hopes. Many experimental compounds have stumbled at the last hurdle, either due to a lack of lasting effect or dangerous side effects. One critical concern is safety. While BHV 8000's selectivity appears to avoid the toxicities associated with other JAK inhibitors, the real-world testing in a large population will be the ultimate proof. There's also the possibility that dampening the immune system could backfire, leaving patients vulnerable to infections or other complications. There are risks with immune modulation that can only be fully understood in long-term studies, one industry analyst warns. The memory of past failures, like those that targeted amyloid and Alzheimer's without real-world benefit, lingers in the minds of both scientists and patients. Another issue is the complexity of Parkinson's itself. The disease is notorious for its variability. No two patients experience it the same way, and its progression can be maddeningly unpredictable. The challenge for BHV 8000 is not just to show a measurable effect, but to prove that it makes a meaningful difference in the lives of patients, delaying disability, preserving independence, and improving quality of life over the long haul. Skeptics worry that even if the drug hits its primary clinical endpoints, it could fall flat in the real world, either because of cost, access issues, or because the improvements are too modest to justify the risk. The specter of regulatory hurdles, pricing debates, and insurance pushback looms large. Yet for every doubter, there's a patient or caregiver yearning for a breakthrough. The Michael J. Fox Foundation, which has invested heavily in neuroinflammation research, represents millions of families clinging to hope. "We have to keep pushing the boundaries," one foundation spokesperson said. "Every time we fail, we learn. Every new mechanism we test, we get a little closer." So, as the first patients enroll in this ambitious trial, the world is collectively holding its breath. Are we finally witnessing the beginning of a new era, where Parkinson's can be slowed or even stopped? Or will BHV 8000's promise, like so many before it, vanish in the harsh light of clinical reality? In the next segment, we dive deeper. What are the specific risks and unknowns facing BHV 8000 and its approach? How might its success or failure reshape the entire field of neurodegenerative disease treatment? And what would it actually mean for patients, the healthcare system, and the future of medicine if this high-stakes bet pays off or crashes? Now let's step into the heart of the high-stakes drama unfolding around BHV 8000, a story that could redefine what it actually means to have Parkinson's in the first place. What's at stake, and what could the future hold if this drug delivers, or if it doesn't? Imagine, for a moment, the path ahead. Over 10 million people worldwide hoping for more than just a band-aid for their symptoms. For decades, science has been chasing that elusive dream, a therapy that doesn't just mute the tremors or patch the memory gaps, but actually slows, or perhaps halts, the ravaging march of Parkinson's. We're now at a crossroads with BHV 8000, a first-in-its-class drug wielding a precision strike against the misfiring immune responses inside the brain. The most immediate intrigue? The outcome of Biohaven's massive Phase 2-3 trial, a global effort that's become a beacon for the entire Parkinson's community. With 550 patients from 13 countries and a trial design scrutinized by regulators and specialists alike, the smallest result could ripple far beyond those enrolled. If the data show that people taking BHV 8000 experience a slower progression of disability, measured by the widely respected MDS-UPDRS Part 2 score, it would mark the first true disease-modifying effect ever proven in Parkinson's. That alone could light the way for a wave of investment, scientific focus, and most importantly, renewed hope. But the consequences stretch further. Success in this trial wouldn't simply mean a new product on pharmacy shelves. It could spark a revolution in how Parkinson's, and perhaps other neurodegenerative diseases, are treated. By validating neuroinflammation as a therapeutic target, BHV 8000 could open the door for dozens of other research programs that have long lingered in the shadow of skepticism. Drugs once dismissed as too speculative could find new life. The entire pipeline of neurological innovation, from Alzheimer's to multiple sclerosis, might accelerate, shifting the entire field towards immune modulation as the foundation of care instead of symptomatic relief. On the financial front, the stakes are enormous as well. Industry analysts are already eyeing the Parkinson's drug market, projected to soar to $5.6 billion in just a few years. If BHV 8000 works, it won't just help patients. It will almost certainly spark a commercial race, with big pharma and biotech startups alike racing to build on or compete with Biohaven's lead. Investors are watching every press release and conference with bated breath, ready to jump at the first sign that this approach may actually succeed. Yet optimism must be tempered by the formidable risks ahead. The scientific world has seen too many game-changing drugs stumble at the very last hurdle. Even if BHV 8000 shows promising results in early analyses, the demands of long-term safety and effectiveness, especially for a chronic disease like Parkinson's, are daunting. It's important to remember, neuroinflammation is a complex beast. While blocking the TYK2 and JK1 pathways might quell the bad inflammation that accelerates neuronal loss, these same pathways also play critical roles in normal immune defense. Previous drugs in this class, used for autoimmune disorders, have been linked to infections or other side effects. BHV 8000's brain specificity and dual selectivity were designed to minimize those risks, but the large, diverse patient population in the Phase 2-3 trial will reveal if the theory holds up in the real world. There's also the possibility of the trial failing to meet its endpoints. Maybe the functional improvements are too subtle, or maybe off-target effects emerge, prompting caution from regulators or even a halt in development. If that happens, it will not just be a setback for Biohaven. It could demoralize a field that has learned, the hard way, that the brain is a uniquely difficult target. And even if BHV 8000 does work, the broader question remains, will it be enough for patients already deep into the disease's course? Experts caution that, like most disease-modifying therapies, success may be defined by how early you start. The people most likely to benefit may be those just beginning to show symptoms, a reality that will force big conversations in the medical community about screening, diagnosis, and access. Let's envision another intriguing scenario. Suppose BHV 8000 works, but only modestly, slowing decline by a small but measurable amount. For patients, that could still mean extra years of independence, but it will also set the bar for future therapies. This could ignite a new era of combination treatments, pairing immune-modulating drugs like BHV 8000 with gene therapies, neuroprotective agents, or even stem cell transplants. We might see personalized Parkinson's medicine move from dream to reality, with patients given bespoke regimens based on the unique signature of their disease. As Dr. Stuart Isaacson commented during a recent research roundtable, the real opportunity here isn't just stopping one element of the disease, but opening the gates for multi-front attacks, combining therapies that address the immune system, the underlying genetics, and maybe even the brain's own regenerative capacity. But what does all this mean for you, the viewer, the family member, the patient, or simply someone who cares about where medicine is headed? First, BHV 8000's rise is a powerful lesson in the necessity of scientific persistence. Parkinson's, like many neurodegenerative diseases, has defied easy answers despite decades of effort. Every new trial, every new hypothesis, builds on a mountain of previous attempts, some of which ended in heartbreak. BHV 8000's journey, whether crowned with success or not, will inform countless future discoveries. If you or a loved one is touched by Parkinson's, the message is clear. Never lose hope, because the world of medicine is advancing at a breathtaking pace. Second, this story underscores the rising role of immune modulation in brain disease. 20 years ago, treatments for disorders like Parkinson's were focused almost exclusively on dopamine replacement, the chemical messenger lost as neurons die off. Now we're appreciating that the immune system is not just a bystander, but potentially a driver of neurodegeneration. For viewers interested in the frontier of neuroscience, keep your eyes on neuroinflammation. This could redefine care not only for Parkinson's, but for a spectrum of brain conditions. Third, if you're considering participating in a clinical trial, whether for Parkinson's or another condition, let this be encouragement. Patient volunteers are the unsung heroes of medical progress. These global studies would not exist without the willingness of individuals to take a chance, not just for themselves, but for those who will follow in their footsteps. Fourth, it's a signal to advocate. If you're in a position to influence public policy, support research, or even just amplify awareness in your community, the coming years will be critical. Early, accurate diagnosis and broad access to novel treatments could make the difference between a slow, silent revolution and a medical leap forward that benefits everyone. And fifth, for families and caregivers, stories like these can be reminders to ask about the latest developments, to push for second opinions, and to never accept that the status quo is the best we can do. So after all this, can BHV 8000 truly deliver a breakthrough for millions, or another disappointment in the relentless fight against neurodegenerative disease? Here's what we can now say. BHV 8000 has ignited a credible, well-supported shot at fundamentally changing the story of Parkinson's. Its mechanism is rooted in firm biological logic, its safety and brain-targeting design are robust, and its trial has passed the highest bar for rigor and regulatory scrutiny. The optimism among some experts is palpable, but so too is their caution. As Dr. Peter Ackerman summed up, we owe it to patients to push the boundaries, but also to be honest about the uncertainty. If BHV 8000 works, this would be a turning point not just for Parkinson's, but for all neurodegenerative disease research. The outcome is still unknown. The first detailed results are likely a year or more away. The success or failure of BHV 8000 will reverberate far beyond one company or one condition. It's a scientific moonshot. But history teaches that every advance starts with someone daring to try. Before we wrap up, here's a secret fact you might not have heard. While BHV 8000's main focus is Parkinson's, research teams are quietly exploring its potential in Alzheimer's disease and even multiple sclerosis. That means the lessons learned here could echo through the next decade of neurology, affecting millions more than anyone anticipates today. If you'd like to stay up to date on the very latest in Parkinson's breakthroughs, or you have questions you want answered about clinical trials or the future of brain medicine, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Share this video to spread hope and knowledge. And as always, let us know your thoughts and questions in the comments. We read every single one. The future of medicine isn't written yet,